there's any banging happening, we have someone fixing our Wi-Fi router. So let's hope that the camera mic doesn't pick that up. It is June, meaning it is time for my reading wrap up for May. And May was a bunch of arcs for me mainly. Don't have any rhyme or reason other than I had to read and review some arcs. A lot of people are like, well, you don't have to do it, but like, I was given the book and I want to as a thank you. But let's start with the book that I DNF'd, The Long Weekend. I did not finish it. I really tried, and I was just kind of forcing myself to just listen to this book whenever I needed background noise essentially. When you're reading a thriller, you really want to know what's happening next and like what the plot twist is going to be and trying to figure out who did it. I didn't feel like that with this entire book. I got through about, I think 65% of the book and I was just like, I don't care to finish it. I didn't care. I didn't care who did it. I didn't care who was dead. I found myself trying to finish the book to say I finished the book, and maybe one day I'll go back and I'll try to listen to it again. May was not that month, so DNF'd, unfortunately. There were 2 books in May that I read/listened to that were not arcs. And the first one was Mafia Queens of Mumbai, and that book, the only reason I read that book was because I watched the movie Gangubai. For everyone who doesn't know, it is based on a true story about a girl, Gangu, who was sold to a brothel in India. She ended up becoming a huge advocate for prostitutes and prostitution in India and trying to get them rights and protection and trying to make sex work safer, because you know, none of these girls willingly went into this life, so she was trying to create a safer environment for them. I wanted to read the book because it's based off of a true story. It was such a well executed movie that I was really curious to learn more about her. Unfortunately, the book didn't give me more information about her specifically, but it did talk about a lot of women in like the 1900s who were really pivotal leaders in the underworld in India, and especially in a country that is very patriarchal now. It was really interesting reading about these women who made a name for themselves in such a male-dominated area. Like I said, all of these are true stories, and it goes as far recent as the early 2000s, which it was so weird to be reading, because when you read stories like this, it's always very far in the past. To think like I was alive when this stuff was happening and these women are still around and living their life, it's a little bit of a mindfuck. But I gave it a 3.75. The second book, I listened to it. It was Autopsy. Ooh, it's a long title. Autopsy of an Ex-Teenage Heartthrob by Avin Jogia. I listened to the audiobook because he narrated it himself. And I didn't know anything about it other than it was gonna be like an autobiography, but it was an autobiography mixed with poetry. I don't rate poetry books. My nose is running. I need a tissue. I didn't rate Autopsy. I did enjoy it. It was actually really, really insightful into learning how a male child actor is navigating through becoming a celebrity, but someone like Avin who isn't really like fame hungry. He likes to just live in his own world and his privacy. They're outside my room. Can you hear that? I've been living off my hotspot to watch Heart of Dixie for the last day. I was actually watching Heart of Dixie while getting ready right now. I love the show. It's that time of year when I have to rewatch it. And I was watching Ransom Canyon They left. I don't even know where I left off. What was I saying? Oh no. Anyways, autopsy. They're back in the room. I recommend. All of the arcs that I've been sent is through the Nerd Fam, they're like a little company, organization, I don't know. They give out arcs. They do arc recs, they do book tour hosts, and they will do occasionally PR boxes. And oh wait, they've left. I don't remember how I found them. I think one of their TikToks just came up on my feed and I saved the page, and then I just applied. I was just like, there's no harm in me applying for arcs for books, because what's the worst they can say is no, you know? Very grateful that they've been sending me books, and it's been a really good way of getting me kind of out of my comfort zone, because even if I request a book that I think I'm gonna enjoy, I have been finding that it's not what I expect it to be. In both a good and a bad way, but it definitely, like, and also like the deadlines of the book is being released on this day, you need to read it before or by then leave a review. It's kind of like giving me a deadline to read. So in a way, it's kind of getting me to read in my reading slump, but I haven't found anything to get me out of my reading slump. The first book that I read is A Fairy Hunter's Guide for the Recently Undead. This book was said to be like a Bridgerton vibe with fantasy elements and fairies and things like that. I was very intrigued. I gave it a 2-star. I know what the author was trying to do, but the pacing of the story was just so, it was very all over the place. Some of the descriptions were just so hard to follow, or like so intensely descriptive that you read a paragraph and you're just like, why are we here? I feel like the entire first half of the book was just like a giant run-on sentence. I didn't feel like the story started. You start in the middle of it from the first page, but I don't feel like the actual plot of the story started until 50% of the way through, which is way too long to be starting to be getting to any plot. We're gonna continue in ASMR, and hopefully my mic picks up my voice. I'm not sitting that far, maybe I'll lean forward a little bit. 50% of the way through, but then even then, like, the plot started, but it still didn't get to what it needed to get to until I want to say like the last maybe 40 pages. I don't precisely remember, but it wasn't until like the very end where you're just like, okay, now we're getting somewhere, you know? It was a lot of the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you're just like, okay, you don't need to be so repetitive with it because it gets boring. What Okay, they're leaving. Her grandmother says that both her and her ex-stepbrother Miles need to live there for 6 months before either one can buy each other out or sell. The story is kind of following her going back to her hometown and being in an environment that brings up unpleasant memories. Also having to live with her ex-stepbrother, who is a reason for a handful of those unpleasant memories. It's also kind of navigating her figuring out what her next move is going to be after being fired from her job. It was a very relaxing, laid-back book. Give it a 3.5. Hanji? I once again forgot my train of thought. Give it a 3.5. It was a very fun time. It does end on a cliffhanger. A really interesting cliffhanger. I love cliffies. I love and hate cliffies because it's so fun, but it's so infuriating at the same time. A good cliffhanger though, not a bad one. Then I read Blood Hunter. Blood Hunter is going to be available on Kindle Unlimited, I believe June 2nd, so it should already be on Kindle Unlimited. I recommend this book. I gave it a 4-star. It is about a human and a vampire who is a vampire hunter. There's a serial killer in the area and they're trying to figure out who the serial killer is. The human, I forgot her name, Juliet. So the human, Juliet, is invested in this because she quite literally saw her best friend get murdered before her very eyes, and then the person, the vampire, tried to kill her but then didn't accomplish it. So she's trying to figure out who killed her best friend, and she ends up meeting Alex, who is the vampire hunter, and they decide to team up to figure out who is going around killing all of these people. There are so many little small plot twists that happen in this book where I'm just like, okay, let's keep going. It was such a fun time. It was a good time. It does also kind of end not on a cliffhanger, but it's set up for the next book. I want to read the next book so bad, but it's only on Kindle, and I don't want to buy the book from Kindle because of the policy change and how you don't actually own the book if you purchase it. I think that's stupid. So I'm waiting for either the author to have it on their website or to offer it on a different platform, because I'm not buying books from Kindle to not own them, you know? That's pretty stupid. So, very unfortunate. This is available on Kindle Unlimited if you want to check it out. You can also purchase it off of the author's website, which I recommend that instead. But if you want to check out the book, go for it. I recommend it. It's a really fun time. Then I read 3 Pucks and a Baby, and I saw that you have 3 college hockey players who now have 1 pregnant female. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be a fun book. This is gonna be a really, really, really fun book. I gave it a 1 star. I felt bad for giving it a 1 star, but I, in my right mind, couldn't give it anything higher because I did not have a good time. I didn't even have a time. I had a bad time. I don't think I should be, you know, sugarcoating if I had a bad time, because that's my time that I gave up and it was not enjoyable. For one, the main character, Vivian, she turns 30 in the book and she constantly calls herself old. Constantly. And that makes me wonder, how old is the author for her to, and that's like her quirk. It's like, oh, you don't want to be with an old bat like me. Like, I'm just so old. Like, I'm so quirky because I'm old. You're 30. You're 30 years old. How old is the author that she's making her FMC a 30-year-old and her main trait is that she considers herself to be old? That really annoyed me because that's something that she goes on about a lot in the entire book. She's constantly like, I'm so old, I'm so old, I'm old. Bennett is supposed to be like the southern sweetheart boy or whatever. I found it really cringy the way he talked to his younger sister. It was, first of all, the younger sister was annoying. She was, I think she's like a teenager and she talks like she's 8, or she acts like she's 8, and he just enables it. That was very cringy. It happens pretty early on in the book. I was not here for that. I didn't have fun. It was, I had to put the book down for a moment because I needed time to process that. Grayson, I swear the first 3 or 4 chapters, he's just going on about how he's a cinnamon roll and he's a golden retriever boy and he's just so cute and sweet and innocent, and he literally says like, am I a cinnamon roll? Or something like that, and I'm just sitting here like, I don't know a single guy who would talk like this. And it was just so uncomfortable to be reading. And then we have Theo, who very, very, very desperately needed to go to therapy at a much younger age because he has a very like alpha male type of personality. Like, I'm the one in charge, you can't tell me what to do, you can't dump me, you can't do this, you can't do that, remember your place. And I'm just like, who hurt you? What's happening? It's kind of like whiplash going through all 3 of these guys' different personalities. The characters really lacked depth and consistency. They would go from saying, I don't know her, I'm not gonna open up to her, but then literally like 2 pages later they're telling her their childhood trauma or something. And then also everything moves really fast in the book, which isn't a bad thing. Fast-paced books are okay, but like if there's some sort of disagreement or argument or something, unless it's about Theo, it gets resolved within the same chapter. There's no time to like kind of let it marinate or create tension or like build something from it. It's kind of like, okay, we'll just get over it now. Other than that, I don't really have an, I'm saying that as if I didn't just give an entire essay on why I didn't like this book. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. Then I read Demon Bound. Demon Bound was another book that had an interesting premise that did not follow through in the way that I expected it to. You are following the main character whose husband is not the man she thought she was marrying, and he is summoning a demon because he's obsessed with power and he wants more power. And how do you get more power? Summon the demon and bind the demon to you so the demon can do your bidding. The binding goes wrong and she makes a pact with the demon, says, I will help you get rid of what, like, the half binding that happened as long as you protect me from my husband. And they go on this quest, but I feel like a lot of the quest was a whole lot of nothing. You do get to know the characters a bit more. You don't really get to know too much about the demon. Like, the plot doesn't really pick up until like the last third of the book. It's a lot of kind of filler, in my opinion. But the thing is like, the filler all adds up. It all amounts to something. I don't know. I gave it a 2-star. And the reason why we don't really get to know much about the demon is everything is told through the FMC's perspective and her story, so you don't really get to know much from the demon side unless it's what he says or what he does. And the reason for all of that is because she has a book 1.5, and that is basically all of Demon Bound told from the perspective of the demon. So you get all of his stuff in the other book. I was so unattached and uninterested in these characters that I did not feel like reading Hellbound. So does that count as a DNF? I mean, I didn't even start it, but I'm not finishing the series, I guess. I just wasn't interested enough. I do think that with the right audience, the book will be well received. I just don't think that I was that audience. I will also say it's very easy world building. That was one thing I did appreciate about the book. The world building is very easy, and also you don't really get inundated with a lot of information at once. Like there's no world building regurgitation happening at any point. It's as you're going through the story, you're learning about the world, and it's very simple to understand if either you're not in a fantasy mood or you're trying to get into a fantasy mood. I think this would be a good book to pick up. Those are all of the books that I read in May. I'm still looking for the book to break my reading drought, and I really hope I will find something soon. Nothing sounds interesting, and then if it sounds interesting, it just feels too long to read, so we'll see. Usually my reading droughts break by this point, and it hasn't yet, so I'm a little worried, but we'll get there eventually. At one point, something will finally be interesting, right? Right? But anyways, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope if there was something that sounded interesting to you, you'll check out that book. Again, thank you to the Nerd Fam for sending me these arcs. Even if they don't turn out the way I expected it, I'm still reading something new. I'm being introduced to new authors, which I really appreciate. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!